I have quit 3 jobs in the last 5 years, give or take, 6 years. Let's talk about quitting. Let's break it down. First, let's understand the why of quitting and why people are quitting. There's a lot of reasons. A lot of it is probably a good thing because it's for upward trajectory. You're trying to get to that next level. You're trying to do a little bit more. But there's a common thread of some negative things. So let's focus a little bit on those. Are you overwhelmed? Are you feeling rejection fatigue? Because sales, let's be honest, is a lot about rejection. Is there a lack of structure or guidance? Is there some pieces that are missing from the company structure and they're blaming sales for all of it? They're blaming you for all of it. Is there a comparison trap to where, like you're being compared to a different sales team or a different company that isn't the same product line or isn't the same option? There's a lot of reasons, and these are common for a lot of different places. The burnout, the rejection, overwhelm, the fatigue that comes behind sales is very much like an athlete in the field. It's because you're not resting right, maybe. It's because you're not getting enough time off or you're not seeing enough success. So there are a lot of things that are behind this quitting and what would make a person want to quit. But the universal truth about this is that everyone in sales is going to go through these periods in time. Everyone goes through this type of feeling over time in their career, and probably multiple times. Just a spoiler alert, it doesn't sometimes get any easier. You might get better at what you're doing, but it doesn't get any easier to deal with rejection. Rejection is rejection, and dealing with problems inside the company are always going to be there. I've quit several jobs here recently and in the last 5 years, and all of those companies had problems. Every company has problems. Every person has problems, but you can overcome those things. So realizing that it's a universal truth that everyone is going through these types of things can really help you steer you in the right direction. So let's talk about a few things that you can use, some simple tricks that you can use to not quit and to deal with some of the things that we just talked about. So first off, reframing failure is important. Understanding that it's not a rejection, it's a redirection. I know you've heard the story that when Edison was trying to invent the light bulb and how he found all the ways not to invent the light bulb, and he looked at the rejection as a way to learn from his mistakes. And you do have to take on that thought process as a salesperson, but look at the data. If it's not enough for you just to change your mindset on a whim, and a lot of us, it's probably not going to be, start looking at the data. Start looking at, okay, when I do this, this is what the outcome is. So start looking at those data points. I'm also going to invite you to focus on small wins. So when you have a marketing campaign, if you're doing marketing and you're in small business, you probably are. When you're doing marketing campaigns or you do a webinar and people show up, even if it's just one person, celebrate the fact that that was a success. If one person shows up for a webinar, sure, that's not what we had hoped for, but it is meaning that the message is getting out there. You just need to do more. You just need to make it larger. You just need to put it at scale. Embracing process is something that can really help with this over time, because you have to start digging into the process and the system that you've built and understand that if you're not getting the end result, there's a problem with the system. There's a problem with the equation. So embrace that feeling, embrace the thought process of, okay, now I'm going to dig into exactly what's happening here and try to figure out this. Another thing is it can be really helpful to redefine your why. This needs to be the guiding light that's up here, that's at the end of the rainbow, that always is going to help you, making sure that you can say, okay, this is why I'm doing this. And you have to figure out for yourself what it is, but always look at that. And from that perspective, saying, okay, this is my main guiding light here. Am I still doing this? Am I still doing what I want to be doing? Okay. The last thing that I can tell you here is to build some resilience. It's true that the more that you do things, even if they're bad, the more common it will become and the more used to it you will get. So sales is about rejections. You're going to hear no. So just hearing no a whole bunch of times will make it easier. It never gets easy, in my personal opinion, but it becomes easier. You realize that there's a resilience out there and you say, well, this person said no, that's no problem. Another person is coming right down the road and we'll just get on to them. Now I'm going to separate this out into two different categories, and you can listen to both because quite honestly, both will make sense for you. But if you're new to sales and you're suffering from burnout, and you're thinking about quitting and going back to the 9 to 5 and, like, oh, this isn't for me. I'm going to go back and just get a job where they pay me hourly, tell me what to do and leave. And when I leave, it's perfectly fine. Nobody cares. But let's give you some tips on how to deal with this. Number one, master the basics. If you haven't been doing this for long, you probably haven't mastered the basics. Go back and look at your core skills and see if you can increase those by either reading, watching YouTube, or learning from your mentor if you happen to have one. And that is the second one. Find a mentor, find a buddy, find somebody, you're already here, and I'm happy to be that person for you, but find somebody who has dealt with this before and steal some of their thought processes on how to get over this and how to move to the next level. Scripting and role playing can really, really help. I know it feels a little bit goofy. I know that whenever you're doing this, you can be like, oh, I don't know. It makes me feel a little silly to be having fictional conversations. But the reality of it is that role playing and scripting really does work. There's a ton of studies on neuroscience. And if you need some badass experience, or I will tell you that military fighter pilots are role-playing and doing this type of stuff all the time. They will go over this structure in their head all the time. You can't get much more badass than that. Even the Navy SEALs are rehearsing, I promise you. Time blocking. Making sure that you're looking at the structure of your day and how you're actually doing this can really be helpful, because there may be minor tweaks that you can make that can help you fix it overall. The last thing is to learn from every interaction. So just because you didn't get the sale, just because you weren't happy with that conversation, doesn't mean that you can't learn. So, maybe try recording yourself if it's possible, or, taking some notes as you're going back and then reviewing your notes, and like an athlete looking at game film, like, oh, this is what I could have done differently here. And I could have said this whenever the client said that. So those are some of the tips that you can take if you're new to sales. Now I'm going to break down if you're an experienced salesperson and you just need a little bit of some change. All right, for those of you who have been in this career for a while, let's talk about a few things that you can do to help you get back in the mood or not quit at this particular point. Number one, audit your process. I promise you there's something in that system that's broken if you're not getting to where you want to get to whenever you're done with it. So start looking at your process, audit that process. Number two is to learn some new skills, like go out there and get some training and, go into a webinar or some advanced training, maybe even pay for it. The training in the past that I've actually paid for has been well worth it, and it's definitely worth it to get some training. Maybe you can target a new niche or a new product line or something like that. Maybe you can talk internally if you're in a big department and a big company and say, hey, I'd really like to maybe focus on this a little bit. Is there some way that we can move to that? Reevaluate your value proposition. This is shifting, just so we're all clear. The audience as a whole is shifting. And that's true to YouTube. It's true to sales in general. The way that we interact with people is changing, and it always has been. Spoiler alert. But the reality of it is that reevaluating your value proposition can really make you realize, oh, you know what? I'm selling the way that I used to 5 years ago, and it's not really relevant to the target audience anymore. Seeking advanced training, I already went over that, or coaching. Coaching is super important. Having a coach, a good coach that you can sit down and say, these are some of the issues, and having that coach walk you through some thought processes that can get you there, opening your mind to some new things can be very, very helpful. And then the last one, find someone to mentor. So that first group that I talked about just a few minutes ago was about, they were new to sales and they're having struggles. Find somebody in that category and mentor them, help them get through these things, because having to say what you do and talk about what you do to someone else can really be put an eyes on, shine a flashlight on your own processes and help you realize what you should be doing that you're maybe not doing. And finally, some universal truths if you're thinking about quitting that you can do, whether you're new to sales or you've been in sales for a long time. Number one is personal branding. Update your resume. You're thinking about quitting anyway. It won't hurt to start updating your personal brand. Like, go out there to LinkedIn and maybe start talking about things that used to get you excited, but they don't anymore. Find those things that are the new you and the you 2.0 that you want, and work on that personal brand, whether it's building a website or just updating your LinkedIn profile. Go and do some networking is number two. Get out there and talk to people and see what's out there, how other people are feeling. Sometimes just finding someone who feels the same way as you, or really just someone who will listen, can be very helpful in these particular situations. Self-care is number three, and that is super, super important. Exercise, making sure that you're eating right, making sure that you're taking the time to do the things that you enjoy. Cultivating that happiness inside of your life is super important. Don't overlook that. It could even be that some of that is missing, and that's why you're ultimately feeling bad about work. It's just work is the whipping post that you're actually using in this particular situation. And then continuous learning. You can see I have books on my bookshelf here. I listen to books all the time, and I probably consume them as about 2 or 3 a month. And I love that. And I find that every time I read something new, I learn something new. It's amazing. I thought, well, after reading 100 business books or self-help books or any of those types of things, I probably would be pretty smart and know what I need to know. It isn't true. Every time I read something different, I learn something different. It's absolutely amazing. Do that continued learning. So look, just to wrap this all up, I want you all to understand that this feeling that you're feeling is not abnormal. Many, many people, and especially salespeople, go through this particular thought all of the time. And it's easy to have this conversation with most salespeople out there. You're not feeling something that's different, and there's more than likely not something wrong with you. It's just a normal feeling. You're not alone. A lot of people go through this. I want you to call to action here. I want you to take one topic, any of the things that I talked about today that you think might help, and implement it today. Do it today and talk about it, okay? And get it started, and then just strategy to do it. And then share it in the comments below. I'd love to hear about the one thing that you're gonna take care of, the one thing that you're gonna do. The final thing is, look, sales is about finding your unique voice. It's about establishing your solutions. It's about establishing your grit, your capability. So don't quit, dig in. Sales is a situation to where when you feel pain, it's more than likely you're headed in the right direction. That uncomfortable feeling is something that you should have, because quite honestly, we are on the cutting edge of what business can actually do. It is the source. It is the capability that you're looking for if you want to be able to generate revenue in any environment. You want to be able to build yourself wealth to a point where you don't need other people. Sales is the key. I'm telling you that. So keep it up, keep up the good work, and do all that you can to just try to cultivate your own happiness and your own capabilities inside of this fantastic career that we've chosen. So that's it. That is the reasons why you shouldn't quit. I hope it helps. I really do, because this is a tough career to be in, but it is a good career to be in. If there's anything else that I can do, my website is linked below. I'd love to hear from you. I'd love to talk to you. I offer coaching, I offer all kinds of things, and I'd love to just have a conversation. So get to my website. You can contact me from there, and I'd love to hear from you and see if this video helped. If it doesn't help, good, bad, ugly, I'd love to hear all about it. At any rate, thank you very much for watching. Good luck.